Hi everybody. This is the video for the vocabulary chart for the concept branches of science. Sorry about that. The materials that you need for this video are a vocabulary chart that looks like this, a highlighter, colored pencils, and your science binder. So pause the video and go get these things if you don't have them already. Alright. So instead of you writing down the vocabulary words on notebook paper, I'm going to give you a chart for each vocabulary list that we have. It'll be set up the same way. Just like this, on the far left side, you're going to have your key idea or your term. The middle column is going to be the information or the definition of the term. I put information because sometimes there are details that would support the definition that would help you understand what the term means. And then in the far right side, we're going to have a memory clue, a picture or some words that would help you remember and understand the concept. So in this video, I'm just going to go through the vocabulary and kind of explain it. I'm not going to draw the pictures for you. I'm going to draw one picture so that you have an example of what I want. And then your assignment will be to complete the pictures over here, and I will check it off when you are done. Alright, so the first word is methodology. And it is just a way of doing something. So scientists, whether they're doing field work or observations outside in the field, or if they're doing experiments in a lab, they're doing it different ways, but they're still using the scientific method. So methodology just means that they can use different methods to get the same kind of results. Systematic observations is a calculated form of observation used to support or disprove a hypothesis. It is free of bias and it must be repeatable. So systematic observations means that it is objective, which means that it is free of bias, and it is repeatable, meaning that it is valid and you can get the same results if you do it over and over and over again. Bias is the third one. That's when scientists performing the research influence the results in order to portray a certain result. So a really good example that somebody gave me today was that bias would be like your mom or dad thinking that your picture or your piece of work that you did in school is the very best piece of work or picture that they have ever seen, because they love you most of the time and they are biased towards you. Okay, they may not be objective in the situation. So bias is when, in science, a bias is when scientists that are performing the research influence the results either on purpose, or sometimes they don't even mean to, in order to get a certain result because they want their hypothesis to be supported so much. Okay? So this is a no-no in science. Scientific model, it's a representation of an object or a system that's too large, too small, or too complex to study just naturally. So, like, an example of something that's very large would be like the solar system. We just can't go get the whole solar system and put it in a room and observe it and study it. We have to make models of it so that we can study it that way. So something that's very small would be like the structure of an atom. That would also fall into the very complex. And another thing would be like a cell is too small to see with the naked eye, so we would have to build a model to be able to observe it and collect data on something like that. Empirical evidence is the next one. It is all of the data collected during an experiment or by observations. So this would be all of the math, all the numbers, all the data tables, the graphs, all of that is called empirical evidence. And it needs to be unbiased. Okay? So systematic observation, empirical evidence. You get empirical evidence by doing systematic observations that are free of bias. Okay? Flip it over. So the types of methods that scientists can use are lab experiments and field work. So I'm going to put a little bracket here, and I'm going to put, these are the methodologies that scientists can use, or the ways that they can get their data. They can do a lab experiment, which is a collection of data in a controlled, I meant to put environment. Okay? Or they can do field work, which is gathering empirical evidence outdoors or where the conditions cannot be controlled. This gives an opportunity to collect data in an original setting. So scientists can do either of these things to collect their empirical evidence. They're still using the scientific method, though. The scientific process is the same, even if they're doing different things to get that empirical evidence. Okay, and then the three branches of science, so I'm going to put a bracket here, and these are the three fields of science. Biology, or life science, which is the study of living things. Methodology of the biologist would be field work or lab. Sometimes they're going to go observe life in their original settings to see how they behave or collect any kind of data like that. Or they may do research in a lab to look at cells or DNA or something like that. So they do both. Geology, or earth science, is the study of Earth, what it's made of, and the processes that shape it. So the core, the mantle, the crust, and then weathering and erosion. How is the Earth built up, and how is it torn back down? That is all in geology. And the methodology for a geologist would be fieldwork. Physics, or physical science, this is a study of non-living matter, energy, and forces. I forgot to put methodology here, so we need to add methodology would be in a lab. Okay? So, I put these life science, earth science, physical science in parentheses underneath the term biology, geology, and physics because they're interchangeable. You'll see both of them. So you need to make sure that you know that life science means biology and biology means life science, and the same for geology and physics. All right, so I'm going to draw a picture so that you know what I would like for the rest of these boxes for the memory clues. And I'll do physics. So for physics, it's the study of non-living matter, energy, and forces. So I might draw an atom. I have a nucleus here. In the nucleus, there are protons and neutrons. And we have electrons. That's what these circles are. Electrons that are circling around the nucleus. That would be an atom. That is matter. And it is non-living. Energy may be represented by one of these, which is a wave. You guys should have gotten this last year. And hopefully you remember that this is a transverse wave, which means that it moves perpendicularly to the rest position, which is here. The other type of wave is a longitudinal wave. If you don't remember, don't worry. We're going to review this big time. And this can be represented as energy, because energy moves in waves. Forces would be like gravity. If you wanted to draw, I don't know, like a tree here, and then you have, oh Lord, an apple. Maybe that's an apple, and it's falling to the ground. That would be gravity, which is a force. I also might draw like a lab table with some test tubes on it. These are test tubes. They're bad test tubes, but or like an Erlenmeyer flask, like this, maybe with some fizzy bubbles coming out, like this, because physicists are going to be doing lab experiments mostly. All right, so all of these things will help me remember the information or the definition of physical science. So your assignment is to make sure that you understand these definitions and then draw pictures. When you are done, I will come check it, and then you can put this in your science binder behind the vocabulary tab.